Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joseph Sangle, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up today?
Fired up.
Fired up, and you just came off vacation right before we're recording these episodes, so are you still in vacation mode?
I did. It's always hard to come back
So
after vacation.
So we're in the middle of Inferno here in the summer. We're recording for really the first Monday of September, which it'll still be Inferno here in South Carolina. And so did you go on vacation to somewhere nice, icy, and cold?
No.
No? You went to further Inferno?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
So we went to the Panhandle of Florida. We went to St. George Island.
Okay.
And it was beautiful.
So St. George Island, where is that relative to like Panama City Beach, Pensacola?
It's kind of like down from Tallahassee.
Okay. Is it white sand beaches?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Clear water. Yeah.
Did you see any sharks?
No, we saw a lot of dolphins.
Oh, yeah?
We saw a lot of like stingrays.
Oh.
A lot of fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
good.
So it was a great vacation?
It was.
That's awesome. So I hope everybody who's listening to the podcast, you've been able to get away this summer, be able to enjoy some time with your family, be able to relax. Did you have an epiphany? Any epiphanies while you're on vacation? Any I've got to tell the Monday Money Tip podcasters about this.
We need more vacation.
You need more vacation. More vacation.
Kidding.
She needs more vacation.
No,
It's
highly
excellent.
recommend taking a week off.
52 weeks a year?
Not 52, just one
Okay.
maybe, or you can take more. But or you can relax and rest and maybe turn your phone off or not look at it as often
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
not open your email.
Yes, and
good.
you did that.
I did that.
I was very proud of you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And so we are going to talk about an interesting topic today, I think. Tell everybody kind of the question that's going to guide this episode.
Yes. So today we are sharing an I Was Broke, Now I'm Not success story, and it happens to be your success story. So our question for today is, Dear Joe, I've read your book and heard you speak. Your financial journey is what I'm wanting to have happen in my own life. If you could go back to the very start, are there some things you would do differently? Yes,
it's a great question. And the answer is yes, of course. Every single human being would do that. But, in particular, we're going to talk about that. I like that question.
Yeah.
Are things you do differently? I think there's a lot of value in doing a detailed autopsy of mistakes. And so we're going to talk about that. Before they do that, we're going to go to my favorite part of the podcast. You know what that time is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
The Monday Money Tip Podcast is sponsored by the Fully Funded Life Membership Program. The Fully Funded Life Membership Program provides all you need to begin winning with money and live a fully funded life. Fully Funded Life includes 4 key components: courses, challenges, coaching, and community. Courses provide financial education. Challenges help you make massive progress in a specific money skill. Coaching is provided by the Fully Funded Life Certified Coaches through open office hours held multiple times each month. All of the courses, challenges, and coaching results in an outstanding community that help equip, motivate, and encourage you to take your next financial steps toward your fully funded life. Fully Funded Life. Courses, challenges, coaching, community. All that's missing is you. Learn more and receive a special offer for Monday Money Tip listeners today at fullyfunded.life/MMT. That's www.fullyfunded.life/MMT.
Now, okay, for the current money event section. Did you miss that? Current money event section. We're going to talk about record debt levels in America. I saw a statistic provided by Statista or Statista. I don't know how it's pronounced. The source is the New York Fed Consumer Credit Panel and Equifax. And there's a chart that we're putting up. If you're watching on YouTube, I do encourage you to watch on YouTube and like and subscribe. Leave a comment, what you agree with, what you disagree with. We like both agreeers and disagreeers. And they include a little thing here that shows that in this chart, that driven by mortgages, household debt hits a new high. Of course, mortgage debt far dwarfs any other type of debt. We have credit card debt, home equity line of credit debt, student loan debt, auto loan debt, and of course, other types of debt. And it reached $14.6 trillion in Q4 of 2020. I'm going to share some lines from this story as we talk about these current money events It says U.S. household debt climbed to a record high of $14.6 trillion at the end of 2020 as mortgage debt surpassed $10 trillion for the first time. So we've been seeing what's happening with a combination of this mass exodus from the cities because people realize they need more space if they're going to have to work from home. Mm-hmm. And so they race to the suburbs, to the countryside, and then we had very low interest rates. Well, people, when they're buying a house, they care how much they're paying for the house overall. But the real answer, the real question they want answered is what? How much is the payment? Yeah. And because of low interest rates, well, that allows them to afford, financially speaking, the amount of mortgage that they can obtain. And that combined with the rush on construction, which caused lumber prices to go ridiculous, caused people to be able to get lots and lots of loans. And that's why mortgage debt is at all-time high. Now, according to New York Fed's latest household debt and credit report, mortgage debt alone increased by a whopping, their words, not mine, $183 billion over the past 3 months alone. Wow. The increase was mainly driven by a record volume of mortgage originations, as many households took advantage of historically low mortgage rates to refinance their existing mortgages and even take out some cash in the process. It's also known as a cash out refinance. In fact, refinances accounted for roughly $700 billion of the almost $1.2 trillion in mortgage originations in the fourth quarter. So over half, I mean, almost 60% was refinancing an existing home. That's pretty amazing. With 85% of that total coming from customers with super prime credit scores. That's pretty amazing. Super prime, not subprime, super prime. So people who have excellent credit have been saying, hey, we're going to refinance this to take advantage of the historically low rates. And if you haven't done that, you should do that. And the one big issue that I see with that is, are they going back to their original length of time terms? Right. Because if you've had a 30-year note and you've been paying on it for 6 years and you refinance it back to a 30-year note and make plans only paying the minimum payment, guess what? You just lost the 6 years of progress. That's exactly how people end up at retirement still owing 20 plus years on a mortgage. Okay? So interestingly, the article continues, the high volume of refinances from super prime borrowers has also contributed to historically low delinquency rates, with 96.8% of total household debt non-delinquent. In other words, we keep hearing about all the people who not are able to make their house payment, not able to pay rent. Well, this statistic says something otherwise. It says only 3.2% of total household debt is delinquent. The current situation is in sharp contrast, the article continues, to the end of 2009, when just 88% of consumer debt was non-delinquent. And so I just share this to say we've got record debt. And right now, we have had a huge amount of cash handed out to people. A huge amount of cash. A lot of people are still receiving cash every single month if they have kids in the house. And as a result, we are printing money. We are borrowing from the future. And mark our words, that will drive inflation. That will drive interest rates up. And the good news is with mortgage debt, they've locked in. Most of them are fixed rate mortgages. And I encourage everybody who has got high interest rate notes and all that stuff, get it refinanced, fix it. But hey, even if you go back to a 30-year note, keep making the payment you're making so that you pay it off even faster than what you've already made progress towards. Don't go reset it back to the original terms. And the other thing that I would say here is make sure you carry huge amounts of margin. If you don't carry a lot of cash, hey, another event can happen, and it may not be a global event. It may just be an event that happens to your family. You may be laid off. You may get sick. You may have something that happens that jeopardizes your income. And if you don't, if you're one of these people where personally in your household, you're carrying record levels of debt, you're going to be in bad shape real fast. That's why saving money is your first step after setting your goals. It's rung 2 of the ladder, and it's rung 5, which is to build it up even further. And so I strongly encourage you, if you haven't refinance. If you have record debt levels, hey, I really encourage you, build huge margin, and then let's get after killing that debt. That's rung 4 and 7 of the I Was Broke Down ladder. That's it for my current money event section. Did you like it?
That was good. I feel like if there's anything this the last 2 years has taught us, it's that like unexpected things can happen. And like you said, not just in our lives, but globally, that I feel like nobody saw that pandemic coming, and no one saw, millions of people getting laid off or not being able to, get a job or pay for their family or all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like having the margin is super helpful. And we always hear people, write in and say, well, I want to kill my debt. I want to get rid of the debt. And we're like, we understand. But if you haven't done these other steps first, you might be able to knock out your debt. But then what if an emergency happens to your family or globally again, and you're not able to step in and fix that? You're going to be right back where you were with having more debt. So
it is so important.
Yeah.
And I just want to point something out here. Have you noticed that when we do the podcast, we always sit on the same side that we always do? It's human nature.
Yeah.
So I want to point this out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can make fun of us. And maybe, just maybe in another episode, we will swap sides.
That'd be weird.
But, it's like that movie, is it Zoolander? I can't turn left, right? But what I would just say is, I think I want to connect this to financial, what we just talked about. We are creatures of habit.
Right.
And we keep running back to what we've always done. And I really strongly encourage you in your financial behavior. Are there some things you've always done, but it's not getting you the results you're wanting? Maybe this is the time to flip it, switch seats, so to speak, and see what might happen. And today, I'm going to try to help you with that by sharing with you my things that I wish I would have done differently. So share the question again so everybody's reminded of what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right.
Or maybe you have a success story. Do you have a success story?
I do. I did.
Well, share your success story. We're going to share a success story.
Trying to
Let's
jump
just
the
all
gun
fire
on
up.
me.
Sorry about that.
All right. Our success story today is from a member of our Fully Funded Life community. So if you haven't heard about that, our Fully Funded Life community,
Fullyfunded.life.
you should check it out. And this person said, since joining earlier this year, she's paid off her car.
Woo.
She's also making headway on her student loans. So that's great.
Rung number 4.
Yeah.
On our way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're so excited about that. And fullyfunded.life, I just really encourage you to be a part of Fully Funded Life. It is courses. That gives you education. It challenges to make rapid progress on a specific skill set or area of money. And then it's coaching, one-on-one coaching from me and other members of our team. We have open office hours a couple times a month where you can sign up for a 15, 25-minute slot with us, answer your personal financial questions, and then it's community. And we got some exciting things that we're going to be planning for building community. The community aspect has been a difficult thing in the era of COVID, but we've got some ideas. I've got some ideas. We're looking forward to bringing those to you by the end of the year.
Yes.
And so now can I talk about it?
Okay, well, I was going to say
awesome.
one more thing about Fully Funded Life is I think one of the things that's happened that we felt like would happen, but has been really cool to see, is people write in and say, this has helped me so much. I want to buy a membership for my child or my, cousin or aunt or uncle or whoever. They want to buy it for their friend or something like that. People are they've been helped and they've been able to pay off their car or pay off their house or make headway on their student loans. There's been all these things they've been able to save money or, get rid of their debt. And so they want to share that. And so for us, I think that's really cool because we want to share it with others, but then having others wanting to share it with their community,
That's awesome.
has increased our level of community.
Yeah.
It's great.
Love it.
Okay, now for your question. Okay, so question says, Dear Joe, I have read your book and heard you speak. Your financial journey is what I'm wanting to have happen in my own life. If you could go back to the very start, are there some things you would do differently?
No. The podcast is over. No. Oh, well, sure I would. Did you like my answer there? No. Having the benefit of, perfect hindsight and 20/20 vision, we certainly, all of us, you, me.
Oh, yeah.
All of our, how many people live on this planet now? 7 billion plus?
A lot.
We would all say, hey, can I get a do-over, please? One right now, and then several dozen in the future. But before I dive into that, I do want to quickly talk about the things that I did well that I would not do differently. I think that's important too. And maybe we can list these in the show notes because I'm not going to belabor them too much. But the things I did well, I'm going to just rattle off maybe 7 of them. One of them is I went to college and I got an excellent degree and I got my 4-year degree in 4 years. I didn't take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And I got an engineering degree, which I had done research and said, I knew that 3 of the top 5 jobs in demand were engineering jobs. So I went to engineering school. Luckily, I liked math enough and was good enough at math to do that. And so I got a degree that actually enabled me to get a great income producing job. That was great. I did borrow money for it, but I worked during the summers. I worked while I was in school. I was able to minimize that debt to less than half of my first year's salary. And that allowed me to accommodate that debt and pay it off rapidly once I got focused on it. The second thing I did well is I worked together with my new bride. So Jen and I, we agreed. We saw money similarly. Although she's a saver and I'm a spender, we both, had common goals, life goals, kids goals, type of lifestyle goals. And as a result, we were able to work together. The third thing that we did is we prepared a budget. We started preparing a budget before the month began, before the bills showed up, before the pay showed up. So a budget, that's something I did right. The fourth thing I did right is I prioritized saving money before paying off debt. I got it in order. Now, it took me a little while to get there, but I finally did that. And when I did that, and having that little well of money, that little reservoir, that was huge, huge. The fifth thing is I started investing for retirement the first day of my full-time employment. I remember graduating from Purdue. It was May 12th of 1996, Purdue University, boiler up, hammer down. And so I went and graduated. And it was interesting because all of my brothers were there. My family was there, my mother and father. And my second brother, he'd always wanted to go to Purdue to be a vet. But he fell in love at 17. They got married at 18. He didn't make it to college until he was in his 40s, and he got a nursing degree.
There you go.
But what I know is he just kind of grabbed me by the shoulders and said, hey, tomorrow you're going to walk into your job, because I had a job starting the next day.
Wow.
My one buddy was going to Europe for 3 months. I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah.
I thought you just went to work. So I went to work.
I
was broke.
I'm about to say, you might have gone on more debt to get that.
But he didn't have money either. He was staying in youth hostels and all that stuff. But anyhow, he said, go to HR tomorrow and tell them to max out your contribution to the 401k. I don't care what percentage it is. You've not been receiving hardly any money per month. So any money is going to be great money. So if you do it from day one, you'll never miss it.
Yeah.
So I remember going in there, sneaking into Tanya's office. Tanya was the HR person. And I said, hey, we have a 401k. I would like to contribute the max. And she said, the max is 13% of your pay. And I said, I gulped. And I said, well, okay, let's sign up for that. And she said, she kind of looked around, and no one was in the office. She looked around and then whispered at me and said, no one here does that. And I'm like, well, I am. And that company matched that contribution dollar for dollar.
They matched 13%?
8% of it.
Oh, wow.
So I had 21% of my income going there. So while I was broke month to month, the 401k was not broke. And in my mind, I don't know why, but in my spender mind, it never connected the dots that I could cash that out. And so I said, it's a retirement fund. It's for retirement. It's hands off. And for some reason, my greedy little spender hands stayed off that money. And I am so grateful. In fact, when I left that company to transfer to another company many years later, I actually rolled over that 401k to its own account. And so I've never contributed anything to it, against it. It's a rollover IRA. And it's always interesting to me, how much it is worth now versus what I know I put in there. And it really is amazing, this compound interest. And number six thing that I did well is I worked very hard and a lot. I worked very hard. Work is not a foreign thing to me. I like work. It's awesome. I think inquiring minds would want to know what type of work I did, so maybe you could ask for them, Megan.
What kind of work did you do?
Okay, I did lots of types of work. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
One of my jobs was working with my father as a youth, helping him build homes. And if you've ever carried hod, which is carrying mortar, they call it mud on the job sites, and brick and stonework and block, and then, of course, constructing and finishing a house. And then I went to work for a horse farm where I cleaned stalls, helped bale hay, put up hay, green brake horses. Only got ran over by a racehorse once. And then I cleaned confinement hog buildings. That is a very special job. And then I got my first engineering job, and they were launching a new product. This new product was not ready to launch. The problem was they had already sold it to customers, and it had bad chemistry. And I literally worked 18 to 20 hours a day at the manufacturing facility for about a year. And I didn't have to. And it was somebody else who launched that product way before. Thank you, Mark, hopefully he's listening. And we got it figured out finally. But I found out that you could work as hard as you want to. If you don't have money knowledge, it won't help. Working hard and earning money does not help if you don't pair money knowledge with it. And then number 7, and final thing that I did well, is we prioritize vacations. Jenny and I prioritize vacation. You started out this podcast saying you went on vacation. We prioritize that. It's really good. We're going to need to do an episode where you can talk about the things you did well and things you do different. Yeah. I think that should be the versus one. But we also did the just us ones and the kiddos included ones. And that's really important. We've always prioritized it and found a way to fund that. So that's the things I did well. I didn't know if you had anything to say about that or things that came to mind.
I feel like 2 things that, obviously a lot of those things I could overlap, but I feel like for me in the start was saving. That was like a big priority for me growing up, was saving and putting money away and making sure there was margin and that kind of, in like that area, I feel like really set me up to do well moving forward. And I feel like that was a big example. Our big reason was because my parents and the way they modeled it. And it wasn't even, it was more of like, this is kind of what we do and this is how we do it. And obviously I had the choice of what I could do with my money, but I saw how they managed their money and it kind of led me in the direction of like, this is how I want to manage my money well as well. And then I feel like Jordan and I working together and being on the same page and then like prioritizing, like talking about our hopes and our dreams and like what we want to do so that we know we're going in the same direction, because it's easy to like be on the same page with like, let's budget, but then also like taking it a step further and being on the same page when you're talking about your dreams and like long-term things of, okay, do we want to buy another car? Or do we want to go buy an investment property? What are the things that we want to do as a couple that aren't just day to day, but they're like more long-term things that we need to save for and plan for and think through and dream about and figure out how we can make this happen for our family. So I feel like those are a few things that I feel like we've done well.
I think there's definitely more there.
Oh, 100%,
and it needs to be an episode. Yes, absolutely. And you could tell that Megan's a saver because about half the things she said were synonyms for the word saving, which is awesome. And so we need to hear that from you on things you did well and things you would do differently. But let's talk about the things I would do differently. That was the question. Yeah. Are there anything you would do different? And the first thing that I would do different is start budgeting earlier. I did not have a real budget. So when I say a real budget, I mean one that I prepared that was realistic. I wasn't lying to myself. And 2, that I actually followed. There were 6 years of my working career where that was the case. I just made money and spent it all and some more. It was when I was 28 years old that I got a hold of this. And I'm so grateful it was in my 20s. There's a lot of, I wish it would be earlier. But I know a lot of 40-year-olds who wish they could say it started in their 20s. But it's never too late to start. But I really would start budgeting earlier. And I think my view of budgeting was wrong. I don't know if you've had friends who you feel like view budgeting wrong. But maybe it's because of the way budgeting was modeled for me in the past, or how it was referred to, or how other people talked about it. I don't know why, but I viewed a budget as never having any fun. You're not allowed to have fun, and it means you got to scrimp and save, and maybe, just maybe, by the time you're 80, you'll be able to do one thing. And I realized that a budget is nothing more than being intentional with every dollar you have. And it allows you to expressly live out the core values that you say you have for your life. What are your core values? Do you want to be generous? Well, a budget allows you to intentionally live out that core value of generosity, of honoring God with it, through giving to your church, through building the kingdom, through ministries. through blessing the poor, giving to others. It allows you to be intentional with living this out loud. The same thing with investing. Do you say you want to prepare for the future? You want to have no one's guaranteed of the future, but you want to plan for it, right? Well, it allows you to be intentional by putting investing into the budget. Same thing for vacation. You say you value time on vacation. Same thing. And so that's really important. Is I wish I would have started earlier, 6 years earlier, really. And it's really important. I don't know if you have a thought about that with you when you started budgeting. Did you introduce Jordan to budgeting? Were both of you already preparing budgets?
No, I mean, Jordan was definitely there too, which made it nice going into marriage, as we were both on the same page with how we wanted to use our finances and how we wanted to do that. I mean, obviously you have the learning curve of getting married, and you're both, instead of two incomes separately, you're both there together, and now it's our money and not your money or my money, which is always a little bit challenging in the beginning. But I feel like that part was nice. I feel like for me, the biggest thing, like when it came to a budget that I would probably do differently, is like allow more space for fun things. So because I'm such a saver, I want to save it all, which is not the right approach. And so allowing, more opportunities to do things or spend the money, like almost like giving myself the freedom to spend.
And that's very important.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that I was just like, I don't need that, or a lot of it I didn't need. And
so
it was great.
You are literally explaining what I'm talking about, where how I viewed budgeting was what you were doing.
Right.
Which is park all your money over here, never spend it. And you have to give yourself a pep talk to ever spend any of it, even though you saved for that very thing.
Yes.
And it's an amazing deal.
Yeah. And I still struggle with that now, of like when we bought our 4Runner, like we paid cash for it. We own it. Nobody else owns it. We do, which was a great feeling. Like the same thing with the boat. We own the boat fully. We paid cash for it. There's all these things that it's like we save for these things and we purchase them, but it was still that like, ooh, breaking up with the money. And I know you talk about that a lot. But as a saver, that's kind of a thing that I wish. It's the nice part that Jordan allows me to dream, but I wish like I would have allowed myself that freedom earlier. So
budgeting really is a foundational element of the I was broke, now I'm not ladder.
Yes.
That's really what it is. It's a foundational element of the ladder. And I wish I had started it earlier.
Yeah.
And so I've got 5 of these I'm going to share here. So the second one is I would have avoided credit card debt that I couldn't pay off every month. That wasn't planned spending. It was just impulsive spending on a credit card. I would have avoided that. And those credit card companies, they know about college students showing up at campus. They know that they have a proclivity. That's a big word.
That is a big word.
To spend money on Mad Mushroom Pizza and Burger King. I could get 2 Whoppers for $2. That's unbelievable. 2 Whoppers, cheese, no tomato. I had to pay extra for the cheese. But I gave them back the tomato, so they should have balanced it out. And also tennis racket, tickets to go see Harry Connick Jr. Have you heard that story? I need to tell that story. This is totally... See, the credit card enabled this. Harry Connick Jr.
Hey.
You know Harry Connick Jr.?
I do,
Everybody
yes.
knows Harry Connick Jr. He's unbelievable. And he was coming to Purdue to our 8,000-seat Elliott Hall of Music, and tickets were going on sale at midnight. And I went to go stand in line, and there's a huge line to get tickets. Well, I went around the back of the building, and a janitor had went outside for like a smoke break.
Oh, gosh.
And I waited until he went in, and I went and grabbed the door before it slammed shut and locked and just held it. And luckily, he didn't slam my fingers in it or something. He didn't notice it. And so I just waited. And then me and another dude, we opened the door, and we went all the way around to the inside box office. And there was like 50 people who had somehow weaseled their way in there too. Okay. And I got front row tickets for 8 of us. That's all they would sell us.
You and Harry.
And it was unbelievable. And I put it all on a credit card. So there's some good memories.
There you go.
But I didn't have a plan for it. So, and then our friend, or my wife's best friend in life, Patty, she got to go on the stage with him and play his guitar with his pick. And he gave her the pick. It was awesome.
Way to go, Patty.
Yeah, it was awesome. But I would have avoided credit card debt that I couldn't pay immediately. I ended up carrying debt, paying a lot of interest, carrying it on into out of graduation, carrying credit card debt all the way till I was 28 and a half years old. And so that matters a lot. I would avoid credit card debt that I could not pay off immediately. It was not the credit card's fault. It was my impulsive spending, no plan, no budget's fault. And I know that we have some very, 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 very loud voices saying all credit cards are bad and evil and wrong and, cuts in line to hell if you use it. That is not true. The facts are about 80% of people pay theirs off every month. It's not a credit card problem. It is the impulsive behavior. And if you are impulsive, well, then you don't need a credit card. I went 6 years without a credit card, and I found out that if I have a budget and I follow the budget, guess what? I won't impulsively spend money that way. Okay? So that's it. Anything you want to share about that one? Anything?
No, that's great.
Okay. Yeah. So my third one is I would have sought out financial mentors earlier. Financial mentors are really important in your life. And the reason financial mentors are so important, and I think you've seen this, certainly you have financial mentors in your family. Maybe there's some other people you've observed. But what is a mentor really? It's not necessarily their age, although sometimes that does help.
Right.
But it is really people who have been where you want to be. They've been there quite a while. They have a confidence born only out of the years of experience. And so there's different areas of your life. But I remember, I got a mentor who had started a business, grown a business, wildly successful business, had built it for many years, a couple decades, and then sold it, had invested in a couple of other businesses with different levels of success, and had another business leader who had like 9 businesses and was successfully operating all of them without pulling all of his hair out. And I got them as financial mentors. And when I was making my first plunge into buying a business, which we just celebrated 10 years of ownership of this business, I was nervous. I mean, I was as bouncy as a cat on a hot tin roof, as they say. He's burning his little paws on there. And they're yawning. I'm spending just huge amounts of money for me. I mean, eye-popping amounts of money, and they're yawning. And it's like, And they gave me confidence born out of that experience. And their mentorship has been hugely impactful in me taking steps of faith, ginormous steps of faith for me. And they remembered it. And it's kind of humorous to them seeing somebody, because they remember when that was them. And I remember the same thing, taking my first step of, my toe in the water of real estate investing. And I'm like, woo, this is awesome. This is amazing. And I'm terrified. And then, I find myself falling asleep at the 5th or 6th transaction, because, hey, I've done this. I've done this a lot now. And I know things, and things are predictable, and I know how to do the analysis and manage it. And I have confidence in my partners that are helping me. And so I would have sought out financial mentors earlier. And then I have a fourth one. I would use cash for anything subject to impulsiveness and overspending. I wish I would have done that. So I'm impulsive at anything related to going into a gas station. I'm going to buy a soda. I'm going to buy a donut. I'm going to buy a coffee. If my kids say they want that overpriced candy item, it's going to happen. I just can't say no to them. They're too cute.
Do you know where my overpricedness, my impulsiveness has come in recently?
Target.
No, I do love Target, but I do have some self-control in Target. Aldi. They got one aisle.
The middle aisle.
They have one aisle and they get you.
And the timing is so perfect for
like,
all the items.
I need this. For instance, this week, I went to Aldi and they had a beach bag. It's like the end of the summer. They're trying to get rid of it. It's like $11 for this beach bag. And it says SEA.
Oh, yeah?
You soon. And it has the inside is lined, and it has a spot I can put Logan's wet bathing suits if I need to go back to the condo, and I put sunscreen. My phone won't get wet. And it was perfect. And Jordan's like, do you need this? I'm like, yes, I do. You can take it out of my clothing
You
budget.
bypassed wanting it straight to need.
But I've been wanting like a little pocket for my cell phone to put in the bag.
Yeah.
But I looked at those are like $20. I'm like, for half the price, I can get a whole new bag that I can put my cell phone in.
Did you use cash?
Did I use cash? No. I did. Well, I
use
didn't.
the credit card you pay off every month?
Yes.
A debit card? I don't even know if Aldi uses a credit card.
They use credit card. Yeah,
okay, that's good.
But so we would pull the money out of my Ally account into like the need to be transferred to pay off the credit card.
Did you move the $11?
Well, it
was the whole Aldi bill.
I told Jordan, I was like, move it from mine. He handles that stuff. So,
but I
did pay it.
That's
out
awesome.
of my fund.
$11, and that's a good practical example. I mean, really, you think what's $11? What's $11? What's $21?
Well,
you look at the end of the month and it's $181, and you're like, what in the world happened?
Yeah.
So I would use cash for that because it limits how much you will impulsively spend.
Right.
So I have cash in my pocket right now. It's limited. I still have some, which is amazing. It's more than halfway through the month when we're recording this podcast. And that's a big deal. Using cash, it's a habit that I've put controls in place by having cash envelopes to make sure impulsiveness and overspending does not derail my financial dreams. And my fifth and final one is I would have started real estate investing while in my 20s. I just would have. I feel like we sat here and saw a gold mine in our town that we're living in here. We saw the gold mine and literally let the nuggets go to other people. And it would have required sacrifice and thinking different and getting financial mentors and maybe bringing partners. But if I would have started in my 20s, oh my word, where would we be now? And I remember my father speaking about the time he got into real estate. In fact, he got into real estate in his mid-40s, kind of like I did. And he tells about that story of how he bought 2 country lots. I think they're like 1/3 acre. That's a pretty good sized lot for a house on it. And he bought one, if I remember right, one of them cost $250 and one of them cost $400. And he thought, oh my goodness, I'm going broke. This is too expensive. $250 and $400.
Now you're like, sign me up.
Yeah, but watch this. Watch this. Whatever the price is now, $15,000. We would look at it and say, oh my gosh, it's oh my gosh, it's so expensive. 20 years from now, is it going to seem expensive? And so I think, I know if I were starting over, I would have done real estate investing while in my 20s because it would have paired with my market-based investing. And it would have got me informed earlier, knowledgeable earlier, to where we could be funding even more dreams right now. But it would have gotten my attention. It would have gave me a reason for saving. It would give me a reason for saying no to certain purchases. And so I really wish I would have started real estate investing while in my 20s, while Carlton Sheets was doing all of his no money down commercials on TV. Some of you guys know what that is. And so that's my 5 things. I would have started budgeting earlier. I would have avoided credit card debt I couldn't pay off every month. I would have sought out financial mentors earlier in my life. I would have used cash for anything subject to impulsiveness and overspending. And I would have started real estate investing while I was in my 20s. Yeah. That's it.
I'm curious, we talked about doing an episode for me where I share mine, but I'm curious, podcast listener, what would you say, I would definitely do this again, and I definitely would not do this again. You
know what? I think it could be a series of posts we could make on Facebook. Maybe you'll be seeing this here. And also, the greatest place to leave a comment is on YouTube. Go to YouTube, share your thoughts. Because as we say with Fully Funded Life, we want this to be a community. We can learn from each other. Today, you can learn from the things I wish I had done. We'd love to hear what you wish you would have done.
Yeah. Okay, our quote for today is, do today that which you'll look back at in 10 years and say, I'm so glad I did that back then. Way back then.
And that's really important. I heard that from a pastor.
Yeah.
And he was saying from a spiritual standpoint, but he's also saying it from a family standpoint and relationship standpoint. It applies to your money too. Do today that which you'll look back at in 10 years and say, I'm so glad I did that way back then. Awesome. Okay, so next episode is going to be about how to teach your kids. We've been doing a series on this. Yeah. I'm going to teach them about saving. It's going to be a fun one.
Yes.
And so close us out.
Yes. So if you like today's episode, make sure to leave us a review. These reviews will help us make our podcast better for others. And if you've implemented one of our tips or you have a success story, we'd love for you to share that with us. You can do that on any of our social media platforms, or you can email us at info@iwbnin.com. And we would love to hear from you and share your success story.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's Monday. Have a great week. Do one thing to make financial progress. Make it a profitable one. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.